Welcome back to the current review, the 13th episode of the current review on Central News Live, supported by the TT hookup. And we'd like to apologize, man, for the hiccups that we are having technologically. It's not what we would have wanted. So we really apologize to you also, Mr. Tshabalala. But maybe let's pick up from where we ended. You were explaining what the responsibilities of the Propac are in our province, and I think maybe you just want to do like a quick recap of that brief answer you gave us earlier.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, my good sir, and greetings once more to your viewers and listeners. The issue that I actually wanted to explain to our society out there is that in terms of our constitution, the parliament, which is the National Assembly, and the provincial legislatures are requested by the constitution to create a mechanism that will be able to conduct or do its own functions of parliament. We have the portfolio committees that are created in the provincial legislatures as also as National Assembly. But at the level of the provincial legislature where we are, it is important to note that these committees are created and they are all committees of the speaker in terms of the rules and standing rules and orders. Now the committee, its own work derived from the constitution of the country. If you go to chapter 6 of the constitution under provinces, section 113, 114, 115, and 116, this is where we derive our mandate from. And we are playing oversight over the executive. Even if you go to section 133, subsection 2, where it says the executive authority is the one that's supposed to account in these portfolio committees. Now, what is of importance is that the committee, this current administration, remember, my brother, we are heading for elections next year. And the creation of each and every administration, it takes 5 years in terms of the constitution. Now, the committee will be preparing a handover report, obviously, for consideration by the next administration in relation to the work done in the previous years, as well as plans for the future, in particular regarding the utilization of what we call sector oversight model, to ensure that the work done by this current administration, it is not lost along the way.
Are there any specific focus areas that the committee will prioritize, during the oversight program?
Well, the committee will actually be looking at many projects. Let me make an example. The area of Mapufe, there was some litigation on the appointment of a particular contractor into discharging the Mapufe, which we all know it is the most important heritage symbol of the province. So we wanted to also play an oversight in that one to see what actually happened. If there are any other things, deficiencies that are there, the committee will be able to pick up, because you must remember our committee, it is called a provincial public account, which means we are non-financial and financial committee. We want to see value for money into all the departments. Any project that has been implemented in the province, we actually want to evaluate it through the Batupele principle, and that principle is value for money. Now, all the capital projects in the province for roads and other major projects, both the province and the municipalities will definitely be conducting the oversight over those institutions.
And will your committee therefore collaborate with relevant authorities and institutions to ensure accountability and good governance, in the public projects?
Yes, no, definitely, my good sir. Look, the legislative sector has a sector oversight model. This is a sector model which which is for all the legislatures of the 9 provinces. Now, which provides for a memorandum of agreement between the Committee of Legislature and different departments. Now, as a Propac, like I said, we will be exploring the possibility of entering into this MOA on the specific project, actually to be identified by the committee.
And are there any challenges that you have identified so far in terms of the functioning of the committee itself?
Well, some of the major challenges or obstacles that the committee is anticipating are the issues of infrastructure, for an example, like your buildings, the state that are being vandalized and by the community, and some not being in a good state due to lack of care and maintenance. Now, you know, when you always go to municipalities, let us just make an example, Mr. Thamsanqa, to say municipalities have a tendency of building what we call the multi-purposes. I'm just citing an example. Now, when you build a multi-purpose, it means there is what we call national standards for building. Now, it means a building must take at least maybe 10 years or whatever years before it could get, you know, the state get eroded in terms of quality. Now, tendency of municipalities that they build all these properties, they build the stadiums, they build the tennis courts, but after that there is no protection of those state assets, if I may put it. Now, HODs or municipal managers or directors have a duty and responsibility to safeguard. Now, we are not saying they must safeguard, because what they normally do, which is a tendency, every year when those areas have been vandalized, taking the windows, you know, our African people will go steal windows and what. The following year, the very same project that have been financed for previous time, it will also be financed. Now we are saying we need to stop that. That is why it is important to deal with the issues of value for money.
You know, in one of the questions earlier on in this discussion, you said that one of the responsibilities would be to compile a report that would be sent to the new administration as a handover project. And I understand that yourself, you are new in this role as the chairperson, but the committee is pre-existing, you know. Now, there must be projects that this committee was working on before your installment. Are you also taking over, like to have a handover sort of a report with projects that are outstanding, and then you're going to deal with them? And with the example also you are making about projects like stadiums, multi-purpose centers and so on. There is a stadium there in Paris which was built a long time ago, costing taxpayers over 100 million. But to date, the stadium remains a white elephant, unusable by the community or anybody for that matter. Is there ever going to be accountability for that waste of money?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Mr. Thamsanqa. I think you are spot on. These are the other projects that we need to put them under our terms of reference, in terms of which are those projects that we need to start with. Look, it is very sad when you have such state-of-the-art properties, which are meant for the communities. Now, communities can have access to it primarily because of what? Your what do they call your engineer structures are not fine. This is what we are hearing. The committee hasn't went there, but this is what we have been hearing people complaining. So our responsibility as a committee is to ensure that we will definitely inform the institution. We will definitely go and play an oversight. And when we play an oversight, we will have to call those who were building the stadium together with those engineers that have approved that that stadium is ready to be utilized. If not, then we will then have to recommend to the MEC, to the Premier, in terms of our, what we call our audit that we have done or conducted or investigation, and then we will then request the consequence management.
Do we have the power as the committee to recommend, criminal prosecution for any instances where you suspect that there is criminal activity?
No, definitely. Remember, these are Chapter 9, Chapter 10 institutions that we work with as stakeholders, and we also believe in intergovernmental relations, the IGR. It is our responsibility to ensure that our recommendations are submitted to the MEC, because remember, our recommendations in terms of the oversight we are playing, and it must just be a reminder to our communities, or the community must know that the executive accounts to us as a portfolio committee. It is not the other way around. Now, whatever that is going to be recommended to the Premier, to the MECs, it is for them to ensure that it becomes, and we also work with the Auditor General, and in terms of Public Audit Act, remember the Auditor General, in terms of that Act, Public Audit Act, they also have a power to like you said, to open cases to NPA and take a matter to. So we will use those stakeholder engagements to bring these matters to those that have to account at the end of the day for taxpayers' money.
Your community is instrumental in ensuring that government departments spend taxpayers' money responsibly. The recent meeting, during which the adjustment appropriation bill and second quarterly expenditure reports were considered, raised questions about the departmental spending and irregular expenditure. What were the outcomes of this meeting?
Well, remember when we conduct an oversight during the consideration of, let's say, the second quarter expenditure report, amongst the questions that would be asked will be on the basis of an irregular, which we will then have to hear what the department has done. Remember, the department, when there is an irregular that has been declared as part of the Auditor's General declaration, therefore they should follow a particular process. Also, the department constitutionally has also the right to have, maybe to appoint the auditors from outside as private auditors to come back to do investigation over what we call irregular. It must also condone, because remember, in terms of the legal framework, they also have to condone, meaning there will be those investigation, and then all the investigation will then yield the reports. If proper supply chain processes were followed or they were not followed, then the accounting officers should take it from there. So at that level of the consideration, there is no action that is being taken immediately. Remember, we can only resolve and recommend to this department in terms of the outcome of the portfolio committee of Propac.
What challenges do you foresee in executing your duties as a committee? Do you foresee that there will be any challenges?
Yeah, no, true. So, there will always be forever the challenges. Remember, what is of importance is that the committee, when it does its plans, it must ensure that they maintain communication within members of the community. That's number one. Through media statements and after each and every site visit, which we are intending to undertake, and solid public comment on inputs. That is the first thing which is important. Secondly, we must be able to notify. Remember, in terms of the constitution of the country, and this is the supreme law of the country. Now, there will never be anybody who can stop these portfolio committees of the legislature from conducting its work. That is why if you go to the constitution, it says we must do our work, we must uphold the constitution without fear, and ensure that we do our work without being undermining anybody. So it's important that we conduct ourselves, anybody who is a stakeholder, because we've got a right to call contractors, we've got a right to call anybody in the country if we really need information before the parliament to use it against the investigation that we are conducting.
Yeah, I was about to ask you a question as to whether you have any plans to engage the community and other stakeholders to communicate the results of any of your oversight activities and to ensure, transparency in your work.
Oh, yes.
And I think you've already, touched on that. But what specific objectives does the committee aim to achieve through this oversight program for the Batopili principles, particularly focusing on value for money?
Well, the community is committed in ensuring that the executive, in executing its mandate, it's very important, through different departments, always consider what we call people of the Free State first. And that it's actually that there is always consideration of value for money in all its projects. Now, what is of importance is that, like I made an example, there is now a tendency, I would always call it a reoccurring disease, which we see in nowadays. People, when they have to implement projects in different spheres of government, they opt to maximize profit than to give value for money. And when you maximize profit, it means you are not going to actually stick to what we call specifications. Remember, each and every project, it has specifications. When you do the road, there is a specification. When you do anything, there is a specification. So it is of importance that we remind all those contractors or all those service providers that we can't chase money and forget to do proper quality work. So it has always been, and this is the entire country. I'm not specifically speaking of the province, because remember, as chairpersons of Propac, we normally meet and discuss these things at the level of a public accounts association, and you can hear from other chairpersons from other provinces. We have the similar problem where we are taking South Africa back to the olden days. Our work is shabby. We decide to make more money than to decide on respecting the quality work.
There is an inverse sort of problem that is also arising of under expenditure. When a government department is given money to go and spend in service of the people, and they later return money to the National Treasury, just like has happened now with our Department of COCTA in the Free State, which is unfortunately returning 600 million to the Treasury. And, thereby meaning that, what the money was meant for is not now going to be achieved. What role does Propac have, in terms of holding accountable the officials, even politicians, responsible for those kind of budgets who have not been able to use them?
Well, look, like I said earlier, the portfolio committee, which I have been recently assigned to, is the portfolio committee on public accounts, which normally we refer to Propac, like I said. Now, the committee of the Free State Legislature is actually operating as an engine of the House in playing oversight on the executive. And when we speak of executive, we speak of all the MECs. Now, we actually holding the executive accountable for financial management of institutions, meaning of their respective departments, obviously, as well as the lawmaking. Now, Propac is only responsible for money bills, remember, which actually are related to province and the Section 76 bills. Now, that's why I said we are a non-financial and financial committee. It's a scoper at the level of the province, where we look at money that has been spent, not only on projects, remember, we've got different stakeholders. We've got entities, for example, your FDC. We've got your medical depot. This is an entity. We've got the fleet.
So you are saying
management.
So you're saying for non-expenditure, you guys will not be concerned with under expenditure.
No, definitely we will. It is our constitutional power. But at most, it's important for us to actually look at this one of taxpayers' money. For non-financial, remember, we've got committees. We've got portfolio committee that are direct dealing with the non-financial. So our responsibility, Propac, it has two dual mandate. It's non and financial. So it gives us a more advantage on executing our work. So it's important that we actually ensure that in most corners and more issues where we play our oversight, we actually look both on non-financial and financial matters.
I would very much love to take this conversation forward, but unfortunately in about a minute or so, we're also going to be hit by load shedding of 4 hours. We hope that Propac will also do something about load shedding in this country and in this province. Maybe let's engage another time because it sounds like there is a lot that we can engage on. Bongani will contact you for an extended engagement next Tuesday. Will that be okay with you?
No, thank you very much. We actually really appreciate, because remember, this work is the work that we are doing on behalf of the communities. So please feel free anytime if you want us to say something to the communities. We are there for available for the communities, and we want to thank you very much together with your team for ensuring that when we are available, we make use of this time to actually inform our societies, and we are humbled. Thank you.
No, much appreciated, Dr. Vusi Tshabalala. We will definitely engage with you again next week, because there is a lot that we did not touch on that we could touch on.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
My good sir. God bless you.
Thank you. That was Vusi Tshabalala, the chairperson of Propac, the Committee on Public Accounts in the province of the Free State. We will try and get hold of him again in the next week. This has been Current Review Tuesday, very long. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We're out.